Hello everybody, I'm back. I know I just did a live video. I figured I'd go ahead and show you how I rigged this hollow body frog up, the Booyah Popping Pad Crasher. And if anybody's wondering, this is, in my opinion, the best hollow body topwater bait period on the market. Hollow body frog, fish, whatever you guys are out there using. The Booyah Popping Pad Crasher is my go-to that I primarily use in the half-ounce size. They don't make the popping pad crasher, but they make the pad crasher in the smaller one. I don't have near the luck or confidence in it compared to the bigger one. And the main reason I almost hardly ever throw these, I think that's a live target version, but you'll be surprised. And I'm big on BFS, bait finesse and finessing to get some bites, but uh, in my opinion, a hollow body frog is almost kind of a finesse way of fishing. I mean, you can fish it loud and crazy, but you can also throw this big one out there and across that gunk and work it slow, and you'd be surprised working it slow or crazy fast and popping and chugging it. Just depends on what they're wanting. The size of fish that will actually hit this thing are from little bitty 8-inch bass to monster bass. So I kind of just, when I'm thrown into that places where nothing else can get, that's what I go to. I mean, I haven't really seen to where anything else kicks in better than one of these baits. And the reason I talk about this one being the best is strictly just because hookup ratio. Almost anything that mimics a fish, frog, or something, dangling around on top of that, growth or whatever gunk that's up there will get hit. It's all about hookup ratio. And it's about how you work it. Sometimes they want it just setting there and these dangling around. Sometimes they want it popped and chugged, almost like a hula popper. They want that as big a chug as you can make. Sometimes they want walking the dog. Other times they just want a steady pull, just pulling it slow and steady across, and they'll hit it. But that bait right there, and I guess I should go ahead and say, it will do all of those things. This one bait can be fished a lot of different ways across the surface of the water. So what I'm going to show you real quick is how I change the bait. Right out of the package, I don't mess with, and some of the baits you can bend these kind of up and out a little and get better hookup ratios, but I found that just leaving this alone, I get awesome hookup ratios. And it probably would get hit just as easy, but to kind of increase your hookup ratio and to help it sort of, I think, walk the dog, and I didn't invent this, I just saw a couple other people doing it, and so I also do it on my baits. You can see on this one, I just shortened both legs, but one a little shorter than the other. And I kind of think I goofed on my last, this is my favorite color. You can see this one's a little beat up from catching some fish. And this is actually, I lose one about every year. It's usually for me not checking the knot, and it's gone. So this bait is only, I think, a year old. I mean, and I feel it didn't catch near as many fish as its predecessors before it. So I felt I cut these legs a little too short. That's a little too short for me. So I'm going to try to make sure I don't make that mistake on this one. I need to go pick up another one in that color. I should have grabbed one yesterday, but I just wasn't thinking, I guess. So yeah, these legs, I like this, the way this black one is. And when you would throw them, what colors? Dirty water, the yellowish and white. Dark days, they claim, like at night, or when that sun's first starting to come up and it's still real dark, a lot of people go by the black. It's got black with blue legs, and as it's getting dark in the night. But I think in clear water, when the sun's up, there's just some days there's a topwater bite going on like all day long. I can't explain it, don't know exactly why. That's why I plan on using this one. Or it should still work early morning on you need sort of clear water. It doesn't have to be the clearest in the world. But I think the yellows help when it's a little stained up water. That something about the yellow color and real, not muddy, but pretty dirty water, that yellow always tends to help, or like a chartreuse type color. So for this guy, I'm going to try to match him up with the legs on this guy. So we'll just try to get him real close. And you can just guesstimate, but I'm guessing on what length that is. If I had to measure it, I would say you're taking almost an inch off one of the legs. and then about 1/2 inch. I missed some. And then not quite, maybe a 1/2 inch on the other one. Not a lot. What that'll help you do now, that looks about perfect. It'll keep. Okay, so what that you do is it kind of basically keeps the fish from hitting this part. You know, there's so much back there that these come with it. Most all of your frogs come like that with crazy long legs, and it sometimes you'll just have fish hitting at that part, not necessarily getting the hook. So you want to shorten it up a little, but like not too much. I think this one I went just a touch too crazy. I mean, it still gets hit, but I felt a little longer would actually help a little bit. But they tend to get the bait more, get more of it in their mouth, and you'll get even better hookups than with if you, no matter how good the hooks are, if they're hitting way back here and they're not really getting the hook into their mouth, it's not going to help. So then the only other thing that I do, and I don't even think you have to, I just, a couple videos when guys were first really getting into these, talking about making them louder. And this one I probably don't need to because I plan on using it where it's going to be in water that they'll probably see it. But I'm kind of a believer in sound usually doesn't, you know, that little bit there won't turn off a fish. Now crazy rattles, you know, some people say on your lipless, and certain times you need loud, other times you want silent. But on the frogs, I like to put a rattle in every one of my hollow-bodied frogs. So we're going to slide one in right there. It usually slides right in, no problem. And then that gives you, and it's not a bunch of noise, but it's just something inside there. So when you're walking, mainly when I'm walking the dog, it may not even be rattling, but it'll just be a little clunk, clunk, you know, it's just a little noise added to the bait, more or less just to help the fish find it. If I'm working it real slowly is probably when it'll come into play. That's all I do. Booyah Popping Pad Crasher, get yours today. Right now, if you make it to Bass Pro Shops today, they're actually on sale. Maybe get them online, but I love the Popping Pad Crashers. Now, I don't have a bunch of different baits. I will go through. I've tried a lot out over the years, and like this guy, he's getting ready to leave my arsenal. So is this guy. I tried both of these. This one I feel does get hit somewhat, but the hookup ratio is just not there. It's like it's not good for me. I don't. If I miss like every other fish or just so many and they are hitting it, I feel I can just throw something else that will get hit. And these were kind of designed to kind of go through the gunk, but then when you come into the clear and this and that, but they're out. They suck. They suck compared to just in nasty stuff where nothing else will go. Use your Booyah Popping Pad Crashers or some sort of hollow bodied just like this, working it. And that's why I kind of went away from these. These little guys, they'll probably be out. That guy, he's getting old. He may stick around since that's the only other one I got in that color. That dude, I don't know whoever invented this thing. You guys comment below. Do you know what this is or if you've ever caught a fish on it? It's just been around all my tackle boxes over the years. It's out. This little dude, I don't even know. I want to say this is, oh shoot, it's not live target. I think it's Lunker Hunt, maybe. That little dude, you talk about a little bait that just flat gets little bites and crazy hits. I love it for that. I hate it for hookup ratios, so it's out. Don't want to talk about it no more. So I will pull in real quick before I finish this video. You guys know I never do quick videos. These are my topwater baits, right? I don't have a ton. I've tried several out over the years. If I'm in the nasty stuff, that's what I go to. No other topwater bait will get, or no other bait in general. Like you need to throw a frog in there, see if anything's in there kind of deal, right? That's the frog I throw. Booyah Popping Pad Crasher, but I don't plan on buying any more pad crashers. I will, from now on, I buy the Popping Pad Crashers is what I plan on using for my hollow body frogs. Just been there, done that. Topwater in general, if you're in open water, you may as well be throwing, in my mind, probably one of 3 baits. Some size, shape, form of these whopper ploppers. These things are just insane. Now eventually, as more people use them, they may get kind of like a buzzbait is, to where they're not quite as effective, but they'll always work. I'm sure these baits will always work. But you need some sort of, and they make generic knockoffs. They got one looks like a frog, Bass Pro Shops does. You know, these are the originals, but you need something that floats so you can slow down, speed up, or whatever, and makes that crazy whopper plopping noise. Then you also need poppers. You know, basically doing what you can do with a hollow body frog, but out in open water. This is probably my favorite popper ever made, Mega Bass Pop Max. They make a Pop X, which is what I really tore them up on last year for whatever reason. That smaller one got the job done. But they also make, you know, AliExpress, eBay, cheap ones that can be picked up. You can add feathers. I got a video out on that. If you guys haven't seen that video, you can get these cheap ones that don't come with the feathers like the Mega Bass do, and you can add your own feathers. Save a lot of money. These seem to be pretty effective last year also. But when the bite gets real tough, I found that this Pop Max, walking the dogs, just subtle pops, not like crazy popping it. I mean, there's times that'll work, but almost any other popper on the market will work when those times are working. But when the bite's tough, this doesn't just walk the dog. It just doesn't do that. As you turn it, it turns as it turns. It turns up onto its side and gives those fish the a little different than a normal popper or hollow body frog or whatever you're walking the dog with. It tends to roll in the way it was designed. That's why I really love this bait and think that there's just the times where like no other topwater baits or topwater's just not hitting right. I took this bait, and it may be this one right here. I don't know. I had a couple in this color. I finally lost one last year, the year before. But out of those two baits, one of them, I went out and I managed a double on the same bait. There was one on each treble. I caught over 100 bass in one day. That's all I used the whole day was that. It was when I first got my baby bass, or my bass baby boat that you see me fishing in. And the first time I had been out to a place in several years. So I went out, and them fish, they just weren't ready, I guess, to, you know, they were ready to eat and not thinking Bass and Bones I was back in town. So I just flat tore them up. Never had that good a day since then, but there's just days when your poppers may be working. They may want more of a fast, erratic thing, or you could slow it down with other things. Or, and I have a separate box with my buzz baits. There's just times when throwing a buzz bait with that squeaky noise the old style blade, you want to get with the old style blade, that those will work. So let's say 4 things. You know, your hollow body frogs, your whopper ploppers, and then your buzz baits, one or the other or both at any given time. They're roughly about the same pace. I feel that these usually, though, if a buzz bait will get hit, one of the whopper ploppers will get hit. So that's why I primarily use them. But there's times if nothing seems to be hitting right on topwater, like I think it should be a topwater bite going, I'll throw the buzz bait, and sometimes it kicks in. But then all different sizes. They do make some smaller ones, but I found this will get a real small fish and it'll get big fish. But then they make the little baby Pop X that exact bait right here. I've caught a 5-pound bass, and I've caught a bass that wasn't but about twice the size that is. And these little things will flat spit water. They have a loud pop like you wouldn't believe. And I need to pick up more of these. I've been looking for colors I like. I cannot find. I may not even have made them, but I wanted to get a white python in the baby bass. I haven't found one of those. And then probably a couple brighter ones. But that's about all I need to fish with, other than I'm going to get a few more smaller ones of these. Now what I did pick up, and we're going to try, I know videos are never real short with me. Of course you got the Rebel, little bitty one, you know, and it's kind of close. But it just does not have the same popping action as the Mega Bass does. But, you know, these are what I consider for BFS. If you wanted the best topwater bait for BFS would be one of these littler poppers, in my mind. Hollow body frog, not so much. You need a little bit stouter rod, and you don't need that small a bait for that in the gunk. But then I also got this cheap bait. Is actually shorter, but way bigger around, and with way bigger lip. Now I haven't tried it yet, and I think I want to put feathers on it. Maybe try to get some little bit of green flashing. And I got a white one coming. I'll make a tail feather just like this one. These baits may be something too, and they're cheap, $1 something off of or they may have been $2 a piece off AliExpress, but fairly cheap. We're going to try them out. They got a loud rattle. Sound about the same. About close to the same weight. But like I said, close to the same weight, but definitely will put out a different presence over like these. And we'll have to see if these walk the dog or what they do. Have not tried them all. Haven't even cast one out. Only got a couple. But if I like them, I'll order a couple more than likely. All right, so that's it. Got a little rundown on my Topwater, mainly on how I use my hollow body frog Booyah Poppin' Pad Crasher. Now, if you guys have tried the Poppin' Pad Crasher and didn't like it, comment below why you didn't like it, or if you feel there's a Topwater hollow body frog out there that is better than this, comment below what it is and why you think it's better than this, because I honestly, the hookup ratio on these hollow body frog is what is key in my mind. I think that all will get hit roughly about the same. It's that, you know, when you do get a hit, and yeah, you need to wait for it. You need to, and that's what I still do it. People, you all still do it. Usually on your first Topwater hit or two, you just yank when you see it, and that's not the thing to do. You want to feel just like you would feel a normal bite. If you feel that thunk or that tap, you know, then you set the hook. You're not just assuming one hit it. You know, if you see your line jump, you want to wait till you see something, and that's what happens with the Topwater bite. You see that fish hit at it, but he may have just been coming up and hitting it with his mouth closed, going to let it land, then on his way down, or, you know, however they do it different ways when they hit. You need to wait until you actually feel some sort of tension on your line, or just give it a count of one, you know, like, okay, and then set the hook just before you feel it. But if you just yank that first initial blow up or hit on any Topwater bait, especially these hollow body, especially these baits, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to lose that fish. You want to let him, you know, blow up, do whatever, take it, feel a little weight, and then you want to hit them hard, because, you know, these are pretty stout hooks still, and there's 2 hooks, and if they're both trying to pull in at the same time, it, you know, if you consider the size of that, if there was another treble out here, how huge of a treble hook that would be. That's going to be a hard hook set. You're not going to want to set lightly, fairly stout rod. But I actually watched Emily do it. She hooked, I think with this bait right here, or this one. That's a big 1/2 ounce bait, and she had it on my little Fantasista, what I use for BFS 6-foot rod, and I watched her catch one. I tried telling her it wouldn't work. Of course, she did it and it worked, so I was like, okay. But that's not what you want to throw those on. You want to throw these on medium heavy is what I recommend. Doesn't matter length. Length is all personal preference. You could get by with the medium, but you better yank for all you're worth. But medium heavy to even a heavy on these Topwater hollow body frogs. Now, of course, if you're downsizing anything under 1/2 ounce, you can go a little lighter, but I don't even recommend using anything lighter than 1/2 ounce. All right, guys, seriously, I am done now. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned. A lot more coming up. I'm out. You be out, too.